sermon prepared because I'd recently spoke at Adventist. But the more I prayed about it and thought about it, I felt impressed to share my testimony. I feel like I'm transparent. The first time I've been here, I might get to know me a little bit besides you everyone invite me back again. So the Purkey testimony is going to be a little bit different. I wasn't raised a full-blown Adventist. I didn't go to Adventist school or anything like that. My mom, bless her heart, she tried. I'm a third-generation Adventist from her. Her dad was baptized by HMS Richards. Anyone heard of him? And several of her brothers and sisters were baptized by him. But now my dad, he was non-Adventist, non-religious, to say the least. So she kind of had a challenge there. And later on, he did join the church and was kind of in and out. So we were kind of in and out of church, but not fully church, if you know what I mean. I went to public school. So anyway, before we start, let's have a word of prayer. Father God, Lord, thank you so much for this opportunity to be here today. And I just want to share what you've done in my life and how you've been there for me through it all. And even when I walked away from you, you were so patient and loving. I thank you for all your people that were praying for me, dear Lord. So many times I know that someone was praying hard for me. I would have made it. Father, thank you for each one here, Lord. Thank you for the time we have together. We just ask your blessing again upon our fellowship here, on the reading of your word. Father, may we be encouraged here, Father, that there's always hope. Father, you don't give up on us. And we know you're coming soon. We thank you and look forward to that soon coming. And Father, we just thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. Like I say, my testimony is a little different. Probably a little unusual in a lot of ways. I want to kind of start with recent events, work my way back to my early childhood. And I've already heard some really good praise reports. I really appreciate the way you do your praise and prayer service. I really like that. That's the way we did it in Minneola. I was in Minneola for a number of years. But anyway, I'm Elder Purkey. I'm from Tyler Church, and my wife's name is Misty Purkey. And she is the children's ministry coordinator there. And she would have been here today, but I forgot when I talked to Pastor Rose about today that today is our children's church, and so she's involved with that. But she has some good help. I usually help her, but she'll be okay. We have 5 children and 8 grandchildren now. I have one of my grandsons, Xavier, is with us today. He's kind of, he thought I was going to ask him to stand up, so he did. But anyway, I'm blessed with the 8 grandchildren already, so, and from what I'm here, we're probably going to have some more. So God is good. If you don't get anything from my testimony today, just remember that Elder Purkey said God has been good to him. And that's the main thing. I've been so blessed. So here recently, as we talked about, I've already here, and I see the big tree down over here, and on the way I saw many trees down. It looks a lot like Van, Texas, and that's where I'm from. We had several big storms here recently and lots of rain. And I'm sure we've all been affected to some degree, whether we lost power, we had property damage, or water in our house, or whatever. 4 days in a row last week, we had our road in front of our house was totally flooded. We had water that, it come within 2.5 feet of coming into our house. And I've been there, we've been living in Van there since '09. I've never seen that much rain in that short amount of time. It just totally overwhelmed the drainage system down there, and it was so close. Now, I want to go back to earlier in the year. We did a few things to our property that we had talked about doing for the past 3 years, but just never got around to it. We made some improvements, done a little refinancing of our home. The drainage ditch in front of the house, we added a better retainer wall. We have 2 driveways, primary and secondary. Our secondary driveway pretty much been completed through the years, and just kind of washing away. Couldn't hardly get in and out over there. We had it resurfaced. We had some concrete guys come in and put concrete around both of those covers where the entrance area from the water to help beef that up. Then we had a French drain system added to the backyard. Anytime we got any rain, I don't care if it was a half inch, we had a lot of ponding in the backyard. So we had that French drain and sent it out to the ditch where it drains really well now. Of course, when you get 10 inches of rain in 24 hours, you know, it's not a whole lot you can do in a situation like that. Like I say, the road was completely covered in water for 4 days. And it just kept getting, each time it was getting a little bit closer to coming in their house, but it never did. So I want to praise God for that. Watched over us through that. We did go without power for about 10 hours. Now the other side of town went without power for 3.5 days. And I'm HVAC, so I was real busy helping people get their air conditioners restored on that end of town. So anyway, thank God for protecting us through these storms. I just feel like, you know, Revelation talks about those 4 angels. You know, I feel like their arms are just kind of, you know, those winds of strife that we're told about in the Bible. Those things are starting to blow a little bit stronger and stronger each time. But we have to keep looking to the Lord and keep our eyes fixed on Him. That's going to be the only way to get through these storms and trials of life. I want to go back to my early childhood now. Mom tried to raise us the best we could in Adventist home. I had 3 sisters, 2 older sisters, a younger sister, and a younger brother. And I really had 3 older sisters, but one passed away when I was only 2 years old, so I don't really remember her. But we lived there in a little town called Swan. You probably don't even ring a bell unless you go through there, you would blink. But it's close to Tyler Pipe Industries, if you've ever been in that area. It's a little west of that. It's kind of pretty much Glendale now, because Glendale's grown so much, it's kind of developed that area. But we had a little country setting there, a little country house, and a couple of acres, situated kind of in the center of a cow pasture and a pecan orchard. And we had a lot of animals. Mom and Dad always had chickens, turkeys, and guinea fowl, and stuff like that. We had a big barn, and we grew lots of stuff in the garden. Mom was always canning. I remember staying up half the night with her peeling tomatoes. And she was canning those tomatoes, garden vegetables, and the celery at the bottom of that barn out there. We just row after row of canned vegetables. You know, back then, Adventists were getting ready for hard times, the end of times. And mine already get back to that, shouldn't we? You know, Jesus is coming soon. But I had a lot of good memories there on that little place. So I was about 6 years old at that time. We didn't have air conditioning. I always like to talk about air conditioning since I'm HVAC. I remember when Dad got the water cooler, what they call them swamp coolers out of West Texas. They don't do anything to remove humidity, of course, they just put more in the house. But I remember me and my sister just fighting over it. We'd come in from outside all hot, and we just kind of huddled around that water cooler and fight over it, feeling that, trying to get some of that cool air. And we wouldn't get a window unit finally before we left there a couple of years later. But anyway, at 5 or 6 years old, my favorite pastime around there was chasing those chickens and guineas around the house. And I had that cow pasture there. It was a big game fence. And for years before we moved there, it was like exotic animals, with deer and elk and stuff like that. So we heard that somebody left the gate open one day. Most of the deer and elk, whatever else was in there, escaped. That must have been open for quite a while. So the owner said, well, I'm not going to deal with exotics anymore, deer. I'll just lease it out to cattlemen, and they'll run cows in there. And he had gray cows. They were kind of black, Holstein, Brahmwigs. And he'd kind of told the parents, you know, the kids probably don't need to be in there. Some of them cows are a little bit on the inside. But I like to explore, and Mom and Dad, of course, encouraged me, don't be going down the cow pasture around those cows. But you know how it is when you're an adventurous young person, you want to get out there. So I was chasing those guineas one day, and they flew over that high game fence and went down that cow pasture. And I'd already been out there, and already broke through that, realized, you know, been exploring down there, even though I probably shouldn't have. There was where the gate was, there was a pretty good gap at the side of this pole pit, where I could just kind of go sideways through there very easily. And so this particular day, I was going to do the same thing. I was going to go down there and chase those guineas through the pasture, try to get them back up in the yard. I thought I was doing a good thing. But on this particular day, when I hit that gap there, usually I'd go through it, no problem. Something stopped me. I mean, it's like I just hit a little brick wall right there, and I heard like a little voice, don't go. I never will forget that. There's a little subtle voice in there, don't go. I'm sitting there, and I hear the guineas down there behind the barn, so I'm going. I'm going to get those guinea fowl. And so I push on through there and go around the barn. Sure enough, I see the guineas down there in the pecan orchard. So I take off after them. You know, used to think I was pretty fast when I was a kid. So I'm running down there to get to those guineas, and next thing I know, here's some hoof prints behind me. I'm like, what is going on? I look back behind me, there's big black cow, and she's just right on me. So I'm thinking, well, I don't know if I can outrun her, but I'm sure going to try. Now I know now I should have went in circles right when she took me out, but I just kept on running down that hill. And she had some horns on her. The next thing I know, she got me in the back and she just picked me up and I went flying through there. And I hit the ground. I was a mess. I mean, blood was coming out of my mouth, out of my nose. I lost all control of my bodily functions, and I just hit the ground. The pain was intense. She was just kind of standing over, shaking her head up and down. And I was thinking she was about to finish me off, but for some reason she didn't. Now this particular day, my oldest sister, Sandra, she never, hardly ever ventured out of her room. She decided to go for a walk that day around the perimeter of that fence. And in that walk, she heard me down there moaning, and I was crying out, Jesus, save me, save me. I remember just crying out to Jesus, but my mom taught me to pray. And I knew if there's any hope for me, because I knew I was in a bad way. I was 6 years old, but I knew I was sitting where I couldn't hardly breathe. And just the blood just kept coming out of my mouth, my nose, and I was in a bad way. And so she ran back in the house and got my dad, and he ran down there. As soon as he saw me, he didn't hesitate. He picked me up, and he walked, running up got back through the house and threw me in the car, laid me in the floorboard. And I'm thankful he didn't call the ambulance because there was no time. He took me to the emergency room in Tyler. He went through every red light, his emergencies on, got me there just in time. When I got to the emergency room, they told Mom and Dad it wasn't good. And there was one man, a surgeon there. He was a black surgeon named Sam Houston. Now, he was notorious for saving people that had punctured lungs. That cow hit me so hard that she had pushed those ribs through my lungs. So I was basically drowning in my own blood. And he had about 5 minutes or less to perform this procedure to pump that blood off of my lungs. And so and there was no time for anesthesia or anything like that. So I could feel him cutting the hose in me and running the hoses in there and the pump. And I passed out. I don't remember anything after that. But he got to me just in the nick of time. It was God's thing. And I was in the hospital for several weeks, and the first couple of days it was kind of iffy, but pulled through it, had to have some blood transfusion, but praise God, he delivered me from that cow. And that cow had a calf problem. She thought she was, being protected, but she done a number on me. And of course, I had a lot of scar tissue, so from that point forward, I started having, getting pneumonia really easy and stuff like that. So that was just something I had to go through from that point forward. But thank God, he saved me through that. So that was an experience I had there with the cow and the little town, a little home place there in Swan. I call it the Swan House. A couple of years later, we would move to Mineola, another little farmhouse in the middle of a cow pasture, similar to one before. This time I'm entering the 3rd grade and, changing schools, having made new friends. And unfortunately for me, at that time I'm redheaded, freckled face, and snaggle tooth, or buck tooth. And there was a magazine back then, I don't know if any of y'all remember, called Mad Magazine. And there was a character on there his name was Alfred E. Newman, but they called him Mad. So the kids nicknamed me Mad. And they, on the buses, I'd walk on there, they'd start laughing and pointing at me. And I got ridiculed a lot, so I had pretty low self-esteem. And I'm there, like any kid, you want to fit in, you want to have friends, but I just can't shake off this new nickname, Mad. And so I got pretty, and kids can be pretty brutal too at that age too when it comes to making fun. That's another thing going to public school. They wouldn't a lot of corrective action for stuff like that, unfortunately. So I'm insecure and trying to make friends, and so now I'm going into junior high, and some of those freckles are starting to subside a little bit, and red hair is getting a little less red. I started making a few friends, trying to fit in. I had one thing going for me. I was pretty athletic, and on the playground, I could catch the ball really good and run. I guess all that chasing those chickens and guineas around kind of built that up my speed a little bit. But so I always got picked to play. I wasn't one that would get left out. I'm still just insecure trying to fit in. And so one day, one of the quarterbacks, I always played quarterback, his name was Van Slee. He lives on the other side of the world, so I just go ahead and say his name. He picked me to be on his team, and I made some catches, and he lied to me, and he was one of the popular kids. So he lives right down the road. He invited me to come over one evening. and played some baseball. Hey, you're good at football. See how good you are at baseball. So I asked Mom and Dad, and they let me go over there, and sure enough, he grabbed the baseball bat, a glove, and the ball. We took off and went down to another cow pasture. Grew up around a lot of cow pasture. So we're going to play some baseball. Down the little blacktop road going to that pasture as we're walking by, we walk beside on the road there, and there's a dead rabbit. He's decomposing. He's got the maggots working a lot in him, and it's really stinks, so we're trying to get away. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, the man points and says, "Hey, I dare you to pick up that rabbit and take a bite out of it." I'm like, "Really?" I started laughing. I think he's just joking, pulling my lip. So, "Oh, okay, that's funny." And so I take a step back. No, come on, I dare you to pick him up and take a bite out of it. I'm like, "Oh, no, he's serious. He's daring me back." And I'm raised, my mom told me, don't touch any dead animals. Don't eat rabbits or unclean. I knew that from the Bible. But there's that part of me that wants to fit in. This guy's in the popular crowd. If I do it, he might think I'm cool or something. I don't know. I'm thinking why is he asking me to do this? So he says it the third time. I'm thinking about take a bite out of it. Oh, no, he's serious. So I thought about it. I said, what am I going to do? I'm going to do it right. So I picked up that dead rabbit, maggots and all. He was just so deteriorating. The stench was awful. I bit his head completely off. And the maggots just started to flood and gore, and it just kind of exploded because he'd been out there in the heat. And so I hear I'm a big mess, and I bit him again. I said, I'm like, that's enough. And before I dropped it, I felt the most awful pain in my side you could ever imagine. I remember man said a bat. He took that bat to me, and he beat me relentlessly. He thought I freaked out. I said, well, man, you dared me to do it. And he just beat me. I just went down in the fetal position, laying there on the ground. If he hit me in the head, he would have killed me. But he did, fortunately, and I got up and kind of shook it off, and we went on about down there and played some baseball. And I already knew to swing the bat really well. Now the next morning, I could hardly get out of bed. I was so sore, from that beating. I didn't want to say anything to Mom and Dad. I didn't want to go to school the next day. I was really sore. He done nothing wrong. But that was nothing compared to what was about to happen. A few days later at school, I started running a really high fever, terribly high fever. And so the teacher noticed that I didn't look too good. So she sent me to the nurse, and then the nurse checked my fever, it was 105. So she, of course, sent me home, and then parents made the doctor's appointment, took me to the doctor, and they gave me some antibiotics and some medicine. They couldn't really figure out, I thought it was some kind of flu or something. So it felt a little better, then about a week later it came back. Once again, 105 fever. And this keeps going on and on and on. I'm going to take it to the doctors in Minneapolis, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. They're like, this has been going on for too long, it's been about a month. So then they send me to Tyler, who's a specialist, and they start running all kinds of tests on me. Now, I hadn't said anything about that rabbit because I'm ashamed of it, but I really didn't want to tell the doctor to get off the head of a dead rabbit. But anyway, so they send me these specialists, they start running all kinds of tests, and they come up with the idea, well, maybe he's got some kind of Hodgkin's cancer or something. And so one of those doctors sent me to a surgeon, and it was Sam Houston, the same one that saved my life from the cow. And he didn't want to do that surgery. He told my dad, he said, I just don't, something's not right. I just don't think he has what I think he has. So, but anyway, he did it reluctantly, and removed the lymph node from my neck, sent it off for testing and all that. There was no cancer or anything like that. So I was just getting worse and worse, and becoming more and more emaciated, losing weight. And they was running every kind of test you can imagine. Finally, I said something to Mom and Dad about that rabbit. And the next time we went to the specialist in Tyler, they mentioned it to him. And he kind of laughed and said, well, there is something called tularemia, which is rabbit fever. That hadn't been around here in 100 years. And it's a pretty deadly disease. So he kind of shook it off. Then we were about to leave. We'd come out and stop. Whoa, wait a minute. We're going to go ahead and test him for tularemia. So they sent me back there, took some blood, sent the blood off, and came back positive for tularemia. And I don't wish to tell anybody that's some bad stuff. I always tell young people, he may try to dare you to buy a dead rabbit or any kind of dead animal. Don't go there. There's nothing good going to come out of it. The knowledge out says they had to hospitalize me, and by the time they diagnosed it, the doctors told Mom and Dad, look, best we can tell, he's in the final stages of reading. We can't guarantee he's going to make it through this. And there was only one medicine at the time that was effective, and that was streptomycin. And I was allergic to it. So they gave me that first dose, and I broke out and was having trouble breathing. And they said he's allergic to streptomycin. That's his only chance. So what they did was they were going to give me 50 shots in a certain amount of time with streptomycin. So we're going to give him 100 shots. We're going to divide it up. We're going to chase it with Benadryl. Said if that don't work, there's nothing else we can do for it. So they did that, and I slowly but surely started getting a little better. Now, I spent a whole lot of time in the hospital, several months there fighting tularemia. But, you know, the good thing from all that was I had my Bible up there with me. I'm 12 years old. And I had a Bible and Desire of Ages. And I was going to bring that little Desire of Ages with me. It's a paperback. I wore that thing out, read that, almost that whole book up there while I was in the hospital, of course, the Bible. I had it, I could go through there and see all the places I marked. I like to look at that sometimes and think about it. Because I really got close to the Lord at a young age. And so, you know, God has a way of working things out. You know, we can make some terrible decisions, but, you know, God could really let that work things to our good with His glory. And so I got really close to the Lord, and was really blessed by reading that book, Desire of Ages, of course, the Bible. And another thing He did as I entered into the high school, you know, I wasn't quite as prone to get into any kind of peer pressure, that's for sure. I remember being invited many, many times to keg parties and stuff like that. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I got to stay pretty close to the Lord in high school. And even to the point some of the kids started, instead of Mad Magazine, they started calling, or Mad, they started calling me Pastor Purkey. Because I always had my Bible with me, and I would always, you know, like to give, if you had on the Bible study, I'd like to go to the library and have Bible study. So my high school experience was pretty good on account of that. And if that hadn't happened with Rabbit, who knows? I may have let the peer pressure get me off into doing some things that would have been a lot more detrimental with tularemia. But I suffered from tularemia for years in the sense that I was allergic to the sun for like probably the next 5 or 6 years. I had to wear long sleeve shirts in time because the streptomycin was still had an effect on me. I would just break out in a rash. So it was a reminder too of what I'd been through and the consequences of a very bad decision. High school, I wasn't so affected by the peer pressure and stayed pretty close to the Lord. But toward the end of my senior year, I was working, had my own truck. I started, you know, looking into the world. I felt myself, I slowly started drifting away from the Lord. You know, I was kind of looking out there in the world and thinking, well, maybe there is something out there. And I started finding excuses not to go to church. Started reading my Bible less, spirit prophecy less. And next thing you know, I'm kind of out there in the world, mingling with in the world, of the world, doing things of the world. And I met somebody out there in the world that was of the world. Now, she was a young lady I worked with at Walmart, and I admired one thing about her. She always wore dresses. But I didn't really get to know her, and I wasn't really talking to God like I should and seeking His will. So I ended up dating her, ended up marrying her. Ended up having children with her, and for 7 years we were probably separated over half of that. And it brought all kinds of woe upon me because she was brought up Church of Christ. And her family was had kind of disfellowshipped the entire body of Church of Christ, had their own little thing going. But there's a lot of abuse in that family. She had been sexually abused, emotionally abused, physically abused. And so all that kind of spilled over into our marriage. Again, I entered that relationship without praying, without seeking the Lord. And that's why I always encourage young people, you know, get to know God, get to know what He wants for you in life. Seek His will, because a decision like that can affect you for years and years. It cause you all kinds of heartache. And I went through a lot of heartache. I really did. So we had 2 children, 2 girls, separated off and on through that time period, going through divorce. Now, during that separation period with my first wife there, I did meet Misty, which I'm married to now. This is kind of unusual. Because I was out there in the world, you know, even after the separation, she had already left with another person. I started going to places, shouldn't like clubs, and, you know, doing stuff like that, going places I shouldn't be, staying away from church. But, you know, I see a church member in Walmart or Brooks or somewhere, I kind of care for the Lord. You know how it is when you're in the world, you don't want anything to do with God or His people, so you kind of run to represent. God. But I didn't. I met my future mother-in-law in one of these clubs. It's an irony of it all. And I was kind of quiet because she was kind of outgoing and was teaching me how to dance and how to live the club life a little bit, so to speak, unfortunately. And so one of those times, she invited me to come over to her house and she wanted to introduce me to her daughter. So I'm thinking, well, she must have an 18, 19-year-old daughter. So she took me up there to Chapel Hill, and she invited me over for lunch one day. Went over there, kind of found out her daughter was only 15 years old. I'm like, so I had lunch, but I stayed away from that completely. I was 21 years old, going through a divorce and had 2 children. So I knew that was a good situation. So a few years later, I run into her again, and she asked me if she could give my number to her daughter, who after high school she got married and went through a divorce. Now she had 2 sons. I said, yeah, why not? But the irony of all that is she lived over there by the Township Adventist church, Missy did. And she came to church one day, and we were having potluck. And so I had 2 girls, she had 2 boys, and we were sitting there having potluck, and there's a gentleman there named Bill Kearns. I don't know if y'all ever heard of Bill Kearns. He passed away there recently, but a wonderful HVAC technician like myself. He said, well, y'all 2 ought to, y'all ought to get together, maybe. He was kind of being a matchmaker. And we kind of laughed because we'd already been talking a little bit. So we started going to church there in Tyler, and then we did get married. Then we transferred our membership to Minneota. Now during this time period there, rededicating my life to the Lord in 97, 98, along in there. I was working at the Carrier Air Conditioning plant there in Tyler. And this time the divorce is final, and paying a lot of child support. And they scheduled to work Saturday shifts, so now I'm convicted. I don't want to work any one Sabbath. I want to be at church, take my girls to church. So I go up to the front office and talk to them and say, look, I can't work Saturday anymore. I've rededicated my life to the Lord. And I want to be at church with my girls. And they're like, they wouldn't tell me if they were going to accommodate them. Well, they did have an extra board that people signed up for voluntary overtime. They never would tell me if they would pull from the extra board to accommodate me or not. So the first time that I was scheduled, I got rolled up, and I got rolled up again. So I'm like, well, they're probably going to fire me, but Lord's will be done. And that was really, the devil, of course, was whispering, oh, you got to pay all this child support. Now you're going to lose this job, and you're not going to find a job with benefits that pays what this job pays. You're going to be in a bad way. You know how the devil does. So he was trying to tempt me just to get me in and work a Saturday shift here or there. But I was firm on that, did not want to compromise. And shortly thereafter, I went to the bid board, and there was an inspector job up, and I bid on that, and believe it or not, I got it. And got to work in quality control as an inspector with the engineers, which was a higher paying job. And if there was any overtime, we were able to do it during the week. So that really worked out good. God worked all that out, so praise Him for that. Now that plant was going away, though, unfortunately. They were starting to phase it out and send it to Mexico, one line at a time. So this time we are the Minneota church, and Missy's becoming very involved in the church. She's already getting the children's ministry there in Minneota, and I'm becoming an elder, and a lot of good things going on in Minneota. Really enjoyed the fellowship over there. Tyler was good too. We just felt like God was leading us to a smaller church, and it was closer to the house. So we're staying and keeping our kids in church. It's a struggle sometimes because it's a blended family, and we have to deal with the other side from time to time. But God is working us through all that. So anyway, along in 2012, I took the severance package from the carrier. They offered it to me to send me to school for 3 years. They would retrain me, pay for everything, pay for my schooling, pay for all the tools because I was going into the HVAC trade. I've been building air conditioners for years now. I was training to work on them. So they were going to pay for everything. They paid me to go to school. The only stipulation was I was not allowed to take any work whatsoever. I had to be a full-time student. They would pay for everything, take me to go. It was really a pretty good deal. And so I graduated TJC in 2015. And a month before I even graduated, I was able to
to get a job as an HVAC technician for Van ISD, which is right there by the house. And so I finished up my schooling at that. Went to work with Van, working here today, Monday through Friday, 6 to 3, which is really good hours. And so I was thankful for that. But along in May, graduated in May the 8th, May the 10th, Van got hit with a tornado, really bad tornado. And it destroyed right about 35, 40% of the town. And so now one of the schools was totally destroyed, the old elementary, which was the one with the oldest air conditioners on it. I was constantly having already worked on those. So all them were blown away in the tornado. And then they had a meeting and said, look, we need to get everybody together, all the maintenance, get everybody together on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. Start having these meetings. So we've got contractors coming in. We coordinate all this. I told them to do it. It's going to be insurance. They said it's a very important meeting. Need everybody to be there. So I just refused. I said, I'll be insured. And I had called and reached out to our disaster relief team down in King. They come in and they started coordinating everything there. Man, it was really good the way you could tell there was a lot of chaos going on, but they moved in, and I got to work with them. So it was really a neat experience. So I didn't know whether they were going to go with the band, but wanted these meetings to be on Saturday, but all of a sudden they called us again. So we're going to start having those meetings on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. And we've had them on Wednesday at 10 o'clock ever since, and that was 2015. They've never called it having a meeting on Saturday. So God worked all that out. Now God's going to take care of us, isn't He? Our jobs, our homes, and we're going to go through some stuff sometimes, and I know He's working with me with patience, because I don't have the patience I need now. But when we lay it upon Him and give it to Him and watch His hand intervene for us, and He can do mighty things that we can't even begin to imagine. So I'm working for Van ISD, we've been through a tornado and everything, and long back 2020, God put it upon my heart to start my own business, Purkey Air, and I've got my license. So I still work for Van ISD, but He's blessed me to have my own business. And so I do a lot of air conditioning and it's such an honor and blessing. I can help a lot of people with their air conditioning. I feel like I do a better job and charge a lot less. So God has blessed us in so many ways. I just can't praise Him enough. And our scripture reading this morning was 1 Peter 3:15. To sanctify the Lord God in your heart, be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks you a reason of hope that is in you with meekness and fear. And a big part of that is our testimony, what God is doing in our lives, what He has done, and we don't need to forget what He's done for us too. Sometimes we have a tendency to forget, and we don't sing His praises enough. But I really appreciate the way y'all do your praises and your prayer and praise reports. That's very special. So I encourage y'all to continue to do that. I was blessed before I ever got up here. I thought, wow, it's just been a good day for testimony. So God has been good to me, and He continues to be good to me. He's delivered us with a mighty hand. Look back on my life. I know there's people praying for me. I know He was there with me every step of the way, even through my stupid decisions I made along the way. But He don't ever leave us or forsake us, does He? But He also gives us free will. And He never violates that free will. It's a great salvation. Turn with me in your Bibles right quick, if you will, to Exodus chapter 15. Exodus chapter 15 is the Song of Moses, and it's a song about praising God for His deliverance, the children of Israel, delivering them from the bondage of the Egyptians, and it's a beautiful song. And most of that chapter is dedicated to that song. Starting in verse 1, it says, Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I will sing unto the Lord, for He hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath He thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength and song, and He is become my salvation. He is my God, and I will prepare Him an habitation, my father's God, and I will exalt Him. Now when you get all the way over here to verse 24, though, it says, And the people murmured against Moses, saying, What shall we run? If we forget how God has led us in the past and what He's done for us in the past, we turn into murmuring pretty quick, can't it? You see how fast that happened? In the same chapter, they're praising God, the next thing you know, they're complaining. And everything we see, we need to give thanks to the Lord, don't we? And we have so much to be thankful for. Psalm 34, verse 1. I know we're all familiar with this one. It says, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. Wow. Just think that we keep those praises on our mouth at all times, no matter what we're going through. God is going to lift us above it. Whatever storm, I know we've been through a whole lot, each and every one of them, especially the past few weeks. And there were times, you know, that the devil's tempting us to maybe to give up a little bit, maybe to falter a little bit. That's when we just need to go to the Lord and seek Him even more, don't we? All right, Revelation chapter 12. We're going to end with Revelation chapter 12. Revelation is a good book to come to a conclusion in, isn't it? Revelation chapter 12, verses 10 and 11. I would like to say this is a great book I hold in my hand. It's also in my mind, also in my heart. It's a great story. It has a great beginning, a great end. It begins in a garden, ends in a garden. No, but everything in between is about salvation of God, the plan of salvation, bringing us back and restoring us to a relationship with Him. But Revelation chapter 12, verse 10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation, and the strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of His Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame Him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death. May God richly bless each one of us as we continue to strive to seek His will and to put His first in everything that we do. And if God be for us,